Hello, welcome back to Jam for another live from the studio event. So we've had some great input from Jake Garner and Sarah Ashworth this morning. And nobody's running the auto cue. Hey! This afternoon we're joined by Evie Osbon. They are a freelance director, producer and artist whose work sits at the intersection of theatre, community, engagement and social change. Since 2017, Evie has been the artistic director of Mind Out Theatre, a company they founded to develop new work that is daring, candid and funny. Evie centres their queerness and neurodivergence and that of others in their work. In fact, what we're going to do is go to a little video that tells us a bit more about Mind Out Theatre.
My name is Evie Osbon, my pronouns are they, them. I'm the artistic director of Mind Out Theatre and we are a community interest company. Phoebe Wall-Palmer is the co-director and she works as strategic producer and fundraiser. Mind Out Theatre is focused on positively impacting the lives of historically silenced individuals and community groups. We have a particular emphasis on queer artists, neurodivergent artists, young people and early career artists from across the East Midlands. Mind Out aims to be a platform for these voices through plays, workshops, mentorship opportunities and events. We use theatre to build confidence, boost communication skills and empower people to advocate for themselves and their needs. We are change makers. This means in our programmes and projects, the content and the way we work tries to question traditional industry norms. We care about the process of making just as much as the outcome and are challenging ourselves to explore how non-hierarchically we can work at different stages of our projects. We make theatre and tell stories that are daring, candid and funny. We explore sensitive topics with an embedded wellbeing approach. We are passionate about addressing current issues and not shying away from uncomfortable conversations. We are Mind Out.
Thanks so much for coming in today, Evie.
No problem.
It's funny, we're having more technical problems today, but it's fine. Doesn't matter. So tell us about your career so far. Like, how did you get to where you are today?
Okay, big question. So I always was drawn to the examination of like being a human, and I later realised that as a child my kind of obsession with watching people and their body language and everything was actually to do with being autistic and trying to understand social behaviour. Yeah. So I did a lot of kind of observing people and trying to figure out how to navigate being in the world, to be quite frank. And so then I joined drama clubs to kind of practice social skills. Yeah. And I loved it and it felt like a real safe place. I found like real like-minded people and I sort of started to take it more seriously. I was one of these young people who was very, very drawn to lots of exciting things, a bit like a child in a sweet shop, just like overwhelmed by all the amazing sweets. So I did lots of clubs, but then I got to sort of around 13 and I was like, no, I really like this. And so I kind of was like, I want to be an actor. And so I did all the clubs you can imagine, Nottingham TV Workshop, lots of stuff at Nottingham Playhouse. And then I basically started to really seriously contemplate, I actually would love to do this as a career. So I applied to drama school. This is making it sound way too easy because it's not as easy as, and I just went. It was a couple of years of trying, of working in between, doing lots of odd jobs and kind of working alongside building this career. Fast forward to sort of the end of my drama school training, I realised, I had sort of another big realisation where it was like, oh, actually, the reason I love it so much is about telling stories and bringing new stories to life that aren't always told or hidden away. And so I was very much in my kind of feminist stage, but it was still quite closed-minded, I would say. I think as I grew, kind of going into mid-20s, I sort of started to realise about my gender, about intersectionality, and then it kind of expanded even more. So now I work as a theatre director and community organiser and producer. Yeah.
Wow.
That's crazy to try and give a sum up of my...
It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. Does that answer what you were asking?
Yeah,
Kind of.
absolutely. Yeah, totally does. So this is, I think what you're doing is amazing and really interesting, probably slightly outside of what a lot of our media students and maybe some of our performing arts students are sort of aware of and how it works. So what does your work in life look like? I mean, outside of, say, the writing part of it, what else goes into making your projects happen?
Well, I think the reality is I do a lot of producing. I think I had to realise that very, very quick, and I'm lucky because I love producing. I really enjoy that kind of like there's a season of an idea and kind of making it happen, getting it to the point where actually it's becoming a reality. It's not just a thought in someone's head anymore. So I don't do a whole host of writing. It took me a while to identify as a writer, in fact, like, because I would say I make theatre and work in a very collaborative way, but also in a kind of non-traditional way. I'm very interested in sort of disrupting the kind of traditional roles, you know, director, writer, producer. I just think as human beings we have so many facets and skill sets, and actually once I started going into projects kind of with a human and kind of going, okay, for this particular project I think I'd be best placed in the director role, or for this particular project I think I'd be best placed as a collaborator, but someone else leading it because their experience informs it more. So it is interesting, that question, and when you identify as a writer and when you don't. I think it takes confidence to go, I'm a writer, but also I think it's exciting to empower young people, I think, to think of different ways you can be a writer. It's not just on your own writing down. It can be in a room with other people, on your feet, devising and improvising.
Yeah. And one of the things I find fascinating when we do these events is we speak to people in different areas of the industry and they give us really different answers, which is great because it's not just a one-size-fits-all thing. It was interesting when we had Sarah Ashworth this morning, who is a production assistant working on what they call high-end TV. She was talking about that hierarchy being so important to the way that functions. What is it about working in theatre that's allowing you to break down the writer, producer, director kind of? It's not so much a hierarchy there, is it? But it's traditionally it's been quite boxed in. You want to disrupt that. So how does theatre make that possible?
I don't think it always does.
Right.
Is the honest answer. I think through my interests and the way I am, and the collaborators I've found along the way who I've enjoyed working with, we've realised that we want to work in a slightly different way. I think, it's sort of how to... So I think, to speak a bit about maybe my neurodivergence, I guess, so I'm autistic and ADHD, and I was late diagnosed, and I realised through this whole journey of being late diagnosed that I really struggle with sort of hierarchy and power. I really do, because I kind of go, well, why? I have to understand the context, and I have to understand the why. The why is the most important thing for me in literally every aspect of life, not just work. So when I start going, well, why does this person have the ultimate say? I don't get it. So, okay, so with community embedded work, so much of it is about bringing people together and honouring their voices. And how hypocritical would it be of me to come into a room and be like, I'm the director of this piece, so we're gonna do this. Tell me all your stuff so we can put it into a play. It just doesn't work. It has to be, okay, hey, I'm Evie, I bring this experience, and meeting everyone on a level playing field and kind of celebrating experience over skill, sometimes life experience over skill, can bring out such amazing collaboration with people who perhaps for whatever reason haven't been given opportunities in the past to be involved in a creative project.
It's quite a radical idea.
I'd say so. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the word co-creation gets thrown around quite a lot. It's one of those things where when words get used a lot in like funding bids, they begin to lose their meaning a little bit. But in all honesty, yeah, it is kind of co-creation what I do. But it's not always co-creation. It's about the transparency of, at this particular phase, we can all come into a room and we can all share our ideas equally. And at the next phase, I might have to be transparent and say, in order to get this piece of work seen, now someone does have to lead the way and filter it through. So as long as you're not lying and saying, you're still in charge, like as long as you're being really transparent, I think it can make for really exciting community work.
And we've actually got a short video of you facilitating. I was going to say running, but that's probably not the right word.
Facilitating's good, yeah.
A focus group.
Yes, that's Second Nature.
Yeah.
So it's one of our current projects.
Should we maybe cut to that, guys? And then Evie can talk a little bit around what she's doing there?
Yeah. Oh, I love that video so much.
Yeah, it's lovely. But I'll be honest, I'm not even sure what's going on.
I know,
Talk us through what that's all about.
So, Second Nature was born out of initially me wanting to get a bit more tech savvy, actually, and me wanting to evolve my directorial practice to understand more digital theatre mediums. So I got some funding from the Arts Council to do some personal development, and I was lucky enough to meet a writer called Emma Zadow, who had this incredible kernel of an idea set in this dystopian world. She'd written a play, and we started to unpack it a little bit and explore it, and it kind of birthed a new project called Second Nature. Due to various availability, Emma kind of stepped away and was exploring some other stuff in her writing career. But what I had realised was through my DYCP, which was the Arts Council funding, was that I really wanted to explore choose your own adventure style pieces. So I imagine all the young people, all the students will be really aware of that kind of medium. But for those of you who might not be, it's very, very common in video games. You literally have a choice about where the narrative goes next. So I wanted to kind of explore that, and so we decided to go in for some more funding from Arts Council, got it, and it basically enabled us over the last year or so to run a number of different workshops all across Nottinghamshire and Mansfield, with young people and also adults with learning disabilities, a whole different range of lived experiences to kind of bring this story together. And the video there was the group. We ended up because there was such a lot of interest from young people across Nottinghamshire, which was amazing, we ended up setting up a kind of steering group, a core 10 young people who were part of this free opportunity to basically co-create the story and really decide we want the sole survivor of this dystopian world to go through this. And there's a bit of an eco-disaster, and we pack a lot into an 11-minute proof of concept, but that video was kind of at the Broadway, who's one of our partner venues, having one of our big exploration days.
Great. So I'm just picking up on a few things that you've mentioned, which I've got a sense of what they mean, but I'm thinking our students might not. So when you talk about a proof of concept as part of a funding process, what is that?
So it's an extract or a part of an idea to then take forward into future phases. So we wanted to start small and achievable, basically, because we didn't have heaps and heaps of money to spend. We had sort of under 30k.
Yeah.
And so we knew we wanted to do that bit well. So really an 11-minute piece experience, by the time you take into consideration the different branches of the Choose Your Own Adventure, actually the footage is probably more like half an hour's worth. Yeah.
And then you mentioned this idea of digital theatre. What do you mean by that, and what kind of digital elements are you bringing in?
So the piece is filmed, but I wouldn't call it a film. So part of my exploration into digital theatre was actually really grappling with, like, what is the difference between film and digital theatre? And I think where I've landed is that digital theatre has a liveness that film doesn't always. Although I'd say lots of new experimental film almost is teetering into digital theatre. It's quite an exciting time, I think, of this merging. But I think digital theatre is about the kind of the visceralness, the scrappiness. It's also, it kind of takes into consideration, who is that camera? Who is the camera? Like, so who is the camera? Who is the audience watching through the camera? How are they related? So to use Second Nature specifically as an example, the audience in that case are other survivors of the world who are trying to reach Ash, the protagonist, and sort of help them find their way to a safe haven, because the world is kind of crumbling and the government are out to get everyone. And yeah,
and you're clearly drawn to also disrupting our sort of classic ideas of narrative, how stories work. Is there anything in particular that inspires you in video games or literature or anything where you're taking inspiration from for those kind of unusual approaches to narrative?
That's a good question. One of my favourite writers is Alice Birch. Okay. And Alice Birch writes in this incredible way where there's like numerous scenes happening simultaneously. Wow. So you hear fragments of conversations coming from all over. And I think it's just a different way to experience. Well, to be honest, it's probably a different way that I experience the world. I think I as someone who has a busy brain, being neurodivergent, I always hear a lot, and I wonder if it's that. I think I'm just always curious, like, what do audiences want now? And I want it to be I don't make art for myself. I make it relationally. It's always with someone in mind.
Yeah.
And so I think what I really like about digital theatre is it gives you the flexibility and freedom to go, what is the best way of telling this story? I mean, there may be some stories actually just really needs to be in person. It needs to be a solo show that people are in a room together. But perhaps not. Perhaps the best way is to reach audiences at the comfort of their own home. Maybe people face barriers in leaving the house, such as people I reached through a group called Queerdos. which I was telling you a bit about earlier, but Queerdos is for neurodivergent, disabled and queer adults. And it's really celebrating creativity from the comfort of your own home. And I think it's I would say that's kind of radical too, because it's about solidarity and going, you know, we might all have different experiences as neurodivergent people, as disabled people, as queer people, although there's often a lot of overlap. But we face these barriers together. I've side quested a bit. I've gone on a side quest.
I enjoyed it. So this Queerdos group, that's something that I can imagine some of our students being interested in getting involved in. What age group is it? How do you?
Yeah, it's over 18.
Right. Okay. Cool.
How old are your students?
Quite a few of them are 18 plus now. So our course students 16 to 19, but certainly a lot of the ones who are in second year of course or what have you, they're 18 or over. So.
Yeah, it might well be of interest. What I like about the group is that it's only once a month. It's, as I said, from the comfort of your own home. It's from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, the first Wednesday of every month, and it's very informal in a way, and it's always about forming connection with other people. We have sort of different themes each session. We've got some funding to have some visiting artists, and we're also piloting a bit of a mentorship scheme. We actually selected it through a lottery process because I was a bit fed up of there's always barriers for people to get these kind of scheme opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to prove, you know, pick me all the time. So I just wanted an opportunity for queer, neurodivergent and disabled people to be able to access some mentorship. Of course, not everyone who entered the lottery is able to, just because of our capacity. But yeah, something about it being a bit more equitable feels good.
It's I think, a great irony that whilst there are all these great initiatives out there that are looking to support people who've been historically marginalised, whether it's queer or neurodivergent or people of colour or what have you, because of the way you have the nature of the application process, there's often just another massive barrier, which is if you're not kind of university educated middle class person, you don't know how to navigate that. So
yeah, and I mean, even just thinking about the experiences of disabled people, neurodivergent people, I've been through the kind of whole process of applying to access to work recently, and those forms, wowie, they are awful. And so there is tangible barriers, real lived barriers for people to enter into the career that they want to enter into. So I think the first step is about acknowledging that, and then it's about kind of going, okay, how can we come together to face the challenge together?
Great.
Yeah, and I think Queerdos does that because it's a space for people to go, this is happening, it's really bugging me. And it's not to say we have the answers, but you just feel a bit less alone.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of questions coming in from people at home. I'll go to those before going back to our general waffle. So how exactly can the Queerdos group be accessed? So
I run a theatre company called Mind Out, as you saw in the video. So www.mindouttheatre.com/Queerdos, and Queerdos is spelled Queerdos, and it gives you all a description of kind of what the group's about. There's a link to sign up, and you should get an email. Well, we have one tonight, actually. We have a group on tonight at 7 o'clock because it is the first Wednesday of the month.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm not going to Days World Forever. I'm not even going to try and say that moniker. What was the hardest part of starting Mind Out?
Oh yeah, the hardest part was actually figuring out what on earth I was doing.
Yeah.
I am one of these people who, once I have an idea, I'm just like, right, I'm doing it. And I'm less so like that now, possibly. I take a bit more time to kind of, get advice and seek, opinions. But at the time, so this was 2017, so I was early 20s still. Finishing drama school, and I had the privilege really of being with a cohort of other actors and devisers for 3 years, and so in the second and third year, I sort of started to look around to friends and kind of go, do you want to make something together? So and because I was there full time, as you are with drama school, we had access to lots of studios. So really, I've got that to be thankful for, because you don't often get a bunch of actors all together in a room for free, you know. So really it was a lot of mates helping mates out at the very beginning, and that did become problematic eventually, because I graduate, I need to make money, I need to live. I was living in London at the time. So that was how I got Mind Out started. It was kind of people making work together, and then me quickly realising, oh, okay, if I want to take a show to Edinburgh Fringe, which was one of the first challenges, I've got to crowdfund, so I've got to be a producer. So it was very much learning on the job.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. So the Great Narrator, good name, asks, how do you manage a consistent schedule with ADHD?
What a good question. How do I manage, if at all? Okay, sometimes I don't. That's a really good place to start. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I miss things. I'm really lucky that I work with a lot of neurodivergent people. That can be both challenging and a blessing, because people have a real good understanding of the challenges, but also you can imagine a bunch of neurodivergent people in the room. It's like, are we going to start on time? Maybe not. But to be more helpful, I do lean on the support of access support workers. Some amazing. I think the work of an access support worker is incredible, and some of you might be interested in it. In fact, it's an amazing role, and I do a little bit of it myself as well for other people. But an access support worker can kind of really be your anchor, and they can keep you on time, and they can support your verbal processing.
Yep.
As you probably imagined, I'm a talker. I verbally process, so someone to help with that. So yeah, I do rely on other people, and I'll be honest, a really good calendar, a colour-coded calendar.
Yeah.
Time blocking.
I think sometimes speaking to our students, they maybe think that the world is divided into people who are organised and people who aren't. And whilst obviously neurodivergence can present certain barriers, there's also kind of skills and strategies that you can learn. I certainly didn't come into my adult life an organised person, and in many ways I'm still not that organised, but I found some coping strategies that get me through.
Yeah, and I do think it's a continual process. In fact, I had some neurodivergent coaching last year, and that was really amazing. It was with a company, which makes me feel a bit smug, because the company was called Exceptional Individuals. So take from that what you will. It's about celebrating neurodiversity and going, okay, you've got an amazing brain, now let's figure out how to harness it. And so I did learn some really great techniques, simple stuff like, in my inbox, I now have a little tab. It's like Wednesday tasks and the end of the week tasks. I go to university, I'm studying a master's on Monday, and Tuesdays I have placement. So those are my work days, and just being really boundaried about, okay, the email comes in, but I can't touch it now. I could so easily see that email and ruminate and go round and round and think. Actually, I just need to move it into the folder and move on. And so that was a good technique I learnt. Yeah,
absolutely. And just opening up more broadly beyond the organisational side of stuff, how do you feel that your autism and your ADHD influence the way you work creatively as a whole?
The way I work creatively as a whole? I think it's a different way of seeing the world. Can you ask that question Can you ask that question again?
Yeah, of course.
I'm processing it.
Yeah. So, as someone with autism and ADHD,
yes,
how do you think that influences your particular approach to creativity?
Well, it is hard to answer because it's literally just who I am. It's like I'm really passionate about saying I'm an autistic person because it's slightly different. It's a slightly different emphasis than a person with autism. And I had a bit of a debate about this with my kind of lecturers, actually. It's literally just the way I see the world. So, it informs how I always want to fight for things to be fair.
Yeah.
And I think that informs the narratives and the stories I want to tell, because oftentimes the stories I want to tell are about things that aren't fair and how we make them more fair. So one of the plays I am writing, but it's taken many people. I'm not really the sole writer in a way. It's called The Centre, and it was about my experience. It's semi-autobiographical, but it's really moved away from my pure experience now. But it was about my unpacking of my gender identity. And I really do see that my neurodivergence and gender are so intertwined.
Yep.
I think it's sort of like as soon as you start to see the world for how it's set up and who tells you what to do and the boxes that are sort of outlined for people, once you start to unpack that as a neurodivergent person, I found anyway that it made me go, oh, okay, well, these are the gender boxes that have been set up for me. And it actually put a magnifying glass to gender for me as well. Have I answered your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't have to be a linear answer.
Yeah.
You know, we can just...
I mean, you're never going to get a linear answer from this brain.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
So that's interesting, actually, because my next question was digging a bit deeper into your queerness, non-binary, and essentially that seems to be quite a central part of your work. So how have those aspects of your identity shaped your creative choices?
I think it's much the same answer as what I've just said, really, because I realised that I am non-binary, although at the time I identified with the term genderqueer. It was in COVID, and as I think a lot of us were, very much trapped in our boxes, in our rooms, both the physical box, but also the digital box. When we're speaking to people, you know, we're kind of, ourselves were kind of cut up in a weird way, to be kind of visceral about it. And so there was a big examination for me of, okay, who am I? Oh my goodness me, that question.
Yeah.
Who are you?
It was a perfect time for an existential crisis.
It was, right? Yeah, it really was. And so I think it really got me thinking. And it also was the first time that my brain was sort of left to its own thoughts in a way. I'm from a big family. I'm a very busy person. So I'd always been surrounded by lots and lots of noise. And I think to finally be sort of in a place of quiet, and to be exploring it, I thought, oh yeah, no, I'm not a woman, and I suddenly realised why the term girl was so frustrating to me. I never knew. I was like, someone calling me a girl when I'm having a costume fitting, it's just really bothering me, and I kind of couldn't ever understand why. And young people just inspire me so much, because actually, some of the young people I was working with in a group. It's a group called Phoenix at the Lakeside, and we meet every Thursday now, but it used to be every Tuesday. That group of young people, I don't know if they know how much they inspired me, because they have this ability to be so authentically themselves, and it really did inspire me to do the same. So I guess for me, queerness is about bravery. It's about authenticity. It's about showing up in quite a vulnerable way sometimes, and going, well, this is who I am, and it, you know, I do consider myself privileged because I'm white. I am sort of feminine passing. So I don't face as many challenges as a non-binary person as some of my trans siblings do, and so I suppose that's also how it informs my practice. I kind of look around to my community of people who have helped me feel so comfortable. And I go, right, well, how can I do the same? And for me, that's about telling stories and making safer spaces.
And you know, as a cisgender heterosexual guy, I'm not exactly that aware of what the queer scene is like in the world of theatre. Can you describe it for us? Is there a lot going on? Is it vibrant? Is there a lot of projects happening? Are there still a lot of barriers?
Quite a nuanced question. I think yes and no again. I think there are pockets where it feels very radical and exciting. I wouldn't say that funding is always given to those pockets. I'd say there's still a challenge of the big dogs getting the support and funding and resources. So yes and no. I think there is a slight challenge, and I think it might be changing. There's a slight challenge of, I'm noticing that there's diversity within actors. There's like this real want for diversity in actors, but then when you look behind the camera or behind the stage, perhaps the people telling those stories don't identify in as broad a diversity spectrum as the people on stage. And so I think there is a bit of a tricky question that some makers need to ask themselves about, why are you making that? Is it tokenism? It might not be, but it might be as well. So I think it's about being quite brave and going, okay, it's the why again. It's literally the why again. Why are you making it? If you're making a story because you think it'll sell, I'm not sure if that's the best reason why. If you genuinely care about that story, work with the people who are impacted by the story, and have the real lived experience and give them some power. Yeah,
of course. So you touched again upon funding, and that's something I'd like to get quite deep into, if that's okay, because I think, you know, for our students who are interested in writing, directing, producing, the first thing they're going to think of is film. And then if they are thinking towards theatre, they're probably still going to be thinking very much in terms of conventional or traditional theatre. Yet here you are making a living and a career sort of outside of those kind of dominant forms. How do you do it? Where does the money come from, and how do you get it?
Yes. So I think the first thing I would say is, don't ever be ashamed of working outside of the arts, let's just say it broadly, to begin to work in the arts. I think if I wasn't comfortable and able to do all my many jobs alongside all of my creative work, I wouldn't be at a point now where I am lucky enough to work full-time freelance in the arts industry. So I'm talking, you know, I worked in pubs. So I've done some very weird jobs. I've worked as a charity street fundraiser. I've worked in a prison as the administrative support person in the psychology department. And actually just being really curious and going, what can I do to find out more about the world, about people? And you'll find that will impact the stories you want to tell and the things you want to make. I mean, the centre, which I mentioned earlier, which is about gender identity, was based on a little bit of a mental breakdown that I had when I worked in a job centre. So I've side quested. It's a bleak place. I've side quested again, but I think it is important because at this time where people are leaving or approaching the end of training or studies, you have some choices to make. And I think if I could go back and tell my younger self something, it would be, go slow, be kind to yourself. I think a lot about the world and the industry and the capitalist system we live in is fast, 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 go, go, go. And I get that because you need to make money to live and to survive, and that's part of the reality of it. But if you can just mindfully try and pick things that feed you, I think you'll find eventually you'll end up doing doing the things you enjoy most.
Yeah, and like you said, at the end of the day, you've got bills to pay, or rent to pay, or you just need to be earning money. And you might sit there and think, "What am I doing? I'm sat in an office doing an admin job." But if there's a couple of things that I would say to that student, I would say, firstly, are you doing stuff outside of that job? Are you getting engaged and involved with communities? Are you keeping the creative candle burning? Because as you grow and develop, and especially a little bit of financial stability, there'll be more opportunity to get more heavily involved and at risk then.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I thought, when he said, well, I worked as an administrative assistant in the psychology department of a prison, I was like, well, there's about 5 great plays or short films or short stories in there just by speaking to those psychologists, so.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want me to speak more specifically? Because I did side quests. I can speak more specifically to how I work now.
Yes, please. Yeah.
So I'll talk about the crux. There was like a turning point. So it was COVID. This was pre my gender awareness, because COVID was long, as we know. I started reconnecting back into the Nottingham creative community, because I had lived in London. I went on tour as an actor around Europe before COVID, and I was rerouted back into my hometown of Nottingham, where I'm from. And so that was actually when everything started kicking off. It was so interesting to me, because I'd always thought, I need to go to London to live my dreams, to find the people I want to work with. And to a degree, yes, because that's when Mind Out Theatre kicked off. But actually, coming back to Nottingham, there's a couple of key things. I joined the Amplify, the Amplify network, which is at Nottingham Playhouse.
Okay.
Anyone who wants to be an artist, I 100% suggest joining that, signing up to that, because you can then go to events and talks and be part of, you see opportunities on this particular portal. And so that was good. That connected me in. There's also a company called In Good Company. Okay. They are a organisation that connect together a number of different East Midlands and West Midlands, I believe, theatres and theatres and companies together. So I'm talking the big ones, the Nottingham Playhouses, the Derby Theatre, and Royal and Derngate and things like that. And they were huge champions for me. They read my first ever funding bid. They gave me pointers so I could get on the right path and really secure that funding. I then started facilitating. So I worked at Nottingham Playhouse, building up my portfolio of assisting, facilitating, but just building and building incrementally. And I slowly found, actually I can make this jump now. And now I am paid through a mixture of things. I secure funding myself with the support of my access support worker and strategic producer. And so then I pay myself through the Arts Council funding, depending on what role I take on that project. Other companies approach me now for work as an associate producer, neurodivergent consultant sometimes, director, you name it, depends what they're looking for. Community producer as well. And then oftentimes they're also funded through Arts Council. So Arts Council pay a lot of my wages. Yeah.
Well, I'm ecstatic to hear that at least someone is actually being supported in their creativity by the government, although I'm sure it's a fight, but
It is a bit of a fight, yeah.
It is a bit of a fight. Couple of questions from students. Are we in true love? Oh, that's a sweet name. How important do you think representation is in your work? Yeah.
I think it's the backbone of the work I do. I think it's just, it's so important. It makes the work better as well. It is just incredibly important. I don't quite know how to say it other than that. It's I think.
And what does it do for you when you see visibility that you identify with?
Yeah, I think so. If I had seen non-binary people when I was younger, I do wonder what little Evie would have been like.
You'd
then.
Have come to that conclusion.
I'd have got there quicker. Yeah, I think a lot of representation is about giving hope. It's about showing, you know, I did this, so can you. It's about carving pathways that don't exist yet. It's about it's about, in a way, it is radical. It's about reimagining who always holds the power. It's going, you know, it can be different. It takes a lot of time. It's slow, but things can be different.
Great. So Vanessa Marsden's asking, what's your favourite part of the whole theatre making process?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, I always say I enjoy the process of making more than the outcome. I love being in a room with people all excited and geeking out about the same topic. I think it's really fun, it's really exciting. I love those like light bulb moments where someone goes, oh, and this, and then someone else goes, and this, and this, and then before you know it, you've got a scene or you've got the concept, or you've got the next play idea you want to make. So I'd say it's my favourite part of the whole process is the ideation phase, but when it's just kicking off the ground. It's when it was when you suddenly go, oh, actually, this is going to be good. And actually, people want to hear this. It's that kind of moment. And then inevitably, you have the part of the process where you're like, oh, this is rubbish. Yeah. So that part comes.
There's several of those, usually.
Yeah, it goes, doo, 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 like that. Yeah. So it's like, it's amazing, it's rubbish. Oh, no, wait, it might be good. No, we should stop this altogether. No, keep going. You're almost there. And then it's good.
Yeah, and then you hate it, and then 10 years later you look back at it and go, you know what, that was actually
yeah.
I should have been proud of that.
You need to sometimes put things away as well, is what I would say. So the centre, we've been making it for like 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's also okay. I think that's embracing the slow process as well.
Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of, as a creative person, that's arguably the most challenging thing, is just having enough confidence and motivation and momentum in your ideas. I mean, how do you deal with, I mean, I'm assuming you have some self-doubt.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Just a hunch.
100%, yes.
So how do you deal with that?
So I think it is by going, it's about being brave and saying to other people, oh, I've got this idea, what do you think? It's about taking that step of allowing yourself to be vulnerable and go, would you give me some feedback, you know? Because I think as soon as you just open it slightly and don't wait for it to be perfect, because it's never going to be perfect. No. Do not wait for it to be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. I'm a healing perfectionist. Don't just really try not to do that. Try and, if you have an idea, if you think it's got legs, talk to someone. For me, that often means my the other directors of Mind Out Theatre, Simson Sandhu and Phoebe Wall-Palmer. Often means me kind of going, got this idea, what do you think? And then depending on kind of, we'll workshop it together, and then you go in for kind of like it's called R&D, research and development, type of pots of money to kind of basically test it. What does this mean? Is it any good? And it's really fine to workshop it and go, no, maybe this isn't the one. I've not had that yet, but just because of the fact that I think there's always something, it can always evolve. I've definitely had it where I've had a kernel of an idea and it's changed and it's become something different.
I think we sometimes have this idea of sort of the great artist's pure expression, where they just lock themselves away in a room and they pour it out and then they present this masterpiece to the world finished. And that's also a very, very kind of traditionally that kind of label has really only been applied to men. To white men.
Because they had the ability to do that, maybe financially sit in a room.
And But one thing I really like about what you're saying for our creative writers or for our filmmakers is how much you put collaboration and co-creation at the centre of what you do. You're not seeing, you know, no man, woman, person is an island. And you're not seeing the creative process that way, are you?
Yeah, it's true, and I think I actually can't write without the the teamwork beforehand. It's almost like I just can't hear the voices.
Yep.
And again, I think that is a privileged position, because it's the time to put the funding bid together, and there is a lot of unpaid time, kind of writing those bids. It finds a way back round to you through sort of theatre tax relief and things like that, and I'm not clever enough to explain how that works, so please don't ask me.
Yeah.
but you know, it's a little bit of upfront work to kind of get it to the point where you can pay people to be in a room with you. But as I say, when I was really first starting out, I'd ask friends for favours, and we would work together, and we'd workshop. We'd go, right, we think we want this scene to happen. Could you play this part? You play this part. You play this part. Can we improvise in a situation where blah blah blah? And then I hear the voices, and then they start to form, and I think it makes for richer pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that's really toxic about that trope, this idea of just presenting the fully formed masterpiece to the world, is that we all need a bit of reassurance and a bit of validation. And if it's putting an enormous burden on you to sort of think, I've just got to write this masterpiece and then it's done. We all need some support and validation, right?
Yeah, and I think it's also, the reality is it's very, very rare for someone to write a play and for it to be submitted to a theatre and for it to fly.
Yeah.
It's really just not the reality. Peers who are working as writers, and they do have more of a process that's different to mine, where they can sit in a room and birth a whole play, have also found that they need to be a producer as well, and or find someone who's a wicked producer who believes in all their ideas.
Yeah.
And so that producer can be doing the legwork and championing your work and talking about it to the right people. I say the right people. Programmers, I guess, at theatre venues, or the funders, or the partners. I think partners is another really big thing, actually. Partners, what I mean by that is it's about finding. I found the best projects have worked when I find a organisation who shares the same values as the piece. So let's see, a piece I've just been associate producer on a piece called The Kingstone, which is still on tour. It's in London now. It's one of the core themes about mental health, and so we knew early on it was very important to do this kind of package of audience care around the work.
Yeah.
So we put together a steering group of different mental health charities. One of the main people who contributed to that is an amazing guy called Alex Harrison from Tough Enough to Care, and his story was actually very, very similar to the story within the play. It does explore themes of suicide, so go carefully if you're thinking of finding it. But that partnership made the piece what it is, because it gave it some tangible grounding, not only in like supporting audiences, but supporting the makers of the work too. And I think like art is really powerful. Like art is incredibly powerful, and I think
life-changing.
It is. It's transformative, and that is why I'm training to be a drama therapist. I haven't told you that, but yeah, I'm training to be a drama therapist because that just feels like the natural next step for me. I'm so curious about the healing potential of art, and I think we all kind of instinctively know that it's a cathartic process, but to actually sort of see it in real time heal people and help people find comfort is incredible. And I'm a big believer in like continued learning and evolving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A bit of a fun question for you here from Days World Forever. If you had the opportunity to make a huge Broadway production, what would some of your ideas be?
Oh, okay, this is just a silly answer to start off with, but I've always wanted to direct a piece with travelators. Do you know what they are?
Yeah.
The ones where they're little, where you're basically like a treadmill on stage.
Yeah.
I love them, and I think they're incredibly expensive, and I just really want to have a bunch of travelators on stage. So that's my first idea. I mean, do you know what? This is quite interesting. The first thing that came to my mind is that I want to put the centre on a big stage.
Yeah.
Because I think it is really exciting and interesting. It's set in a job centre, and it could definitely work with travellators. Yeah.
You'll be writing that into the script.
Yeah. I can imagine there'd be like big kind of confetti cannons and
Yeah, I'm seeing
that.
it.
Yeah, it would both be like part cabaret. People kind of, there's the naturalistic job centre setting, but it like teeters into the kind of like abstract world, and so sort of popping in and out. I love like the mundane world, like life, the kind of, the monotony of it. There's beauty in the monotony too, but the monotony of it, and then the complete sort of like dreamlike quality it can have, and I love that juxtaposition. So something really zany and just colourful and radical and exciting and silly, and a dark comedy. So I think the centre's got to go to Broadway, and we've got to have travellators.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm there. Nat Clark has the kind of question which might cause another existential crisis. Are you happy with your career?
I love my career.
Yeah.
I do. I love my career. Don't get me wrong. It can be really hard, and I'm a very open book. I struggle with my mental health as well, and I think I'm really passionate about speaking, about that. The world is tough. The world is hard. Every day there is something awful happening. So I face those challenges like everyone else. But in general, I do go, this is what little Evie wanted to do. I'll be honest, I'm not making the big bucks, but I love it. I work with interesting people. I make work I'm passionate about, and I also have that feeling of like doing something that's good for the world. Like I do, again, I'm not saving lives, and it's not kind of bigging it up to that degree, but I'm happy that I have gone the way I've gone.
Yeah, and it's a trade-off, I suppose, in a sense that, especially when you're younger, you might have these dreams of, reaching audiences of thousands, millions, and you might have some quite material dreams about making thousands and millions, and operating in the sphere that you're operating in. That's not likely to happen, but then it's maybe something that you're feeling much more. There's different ways to get rewards. And the reward here is a bit more spiritual.
I think so. I mean, to take the Kingstone as an example, the one with the mental health themes, we have literally had, so Alex, who's there at every event from Tough Enough to Care, this charity that supports people going through mental health challenges, the play has literally, and this is not an exaggeration, saved 2 people's lives. That because of watching that play, they have been able to seek help and and tangibly sort of not stop, but really kind of interrogate where they're at with their mental health now. So, I mean, those kind of things are incredible.
Yeah.
I think that's what brings me joy and gets me out of bed in the morning.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It has been absolutely lovely chatting with you, Evie. Thank you so much for coming in. It's been really, really inspiring.
Thank you.
I really hope that you guys at home have been inspired by that. It's not always just about going down those mainstream routes. It's not always just about thinking about the big bucks or the massive audiences. It can be so enriching. And all of those of you who, and it is lots of you who, are neurodivergent or have mental health issues or other crosses to bear or experiencing other barriers. Evie is, she's an example. They are an example of how they can, how someone can take this and turn it into a job, a passion, and a life. So yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we've got one more today, guys. At 3:30, we've got Dolly Hughes joining us from Tank Marketing. So do stick around for that. We'll get the YouTube link posted into the Teams as soon as we're up and ready. So we'll see you in half an hour. Cheers.
Bye. Thank you.